Hey everyone, it's Corey. I just wanted to do a quick presentation for you on a leadership skill that I love, which is grit. It expands more to just leadership though. It's a great life skill, and I hope you enjoy the presentation. So when I think of grit, I actually think of an old Western movie with a cowboy called True Grit. And this is a quote from that movie, and I actually think it kind of hits it on the head about what grit is. So, true grit is making a decision and standing by it, doing what must be done. No moral man can have peace of mind if he leaves undone what he knows he should have done. And that's by John Wayne. But in more modern terms, there are 5 characteristics of grit that are studied today, and those include courage, conscientiousness, long-term goals and endurance, resilience, and excellence versus perfection. So starting with courage, that's just your ability to manage your fear of failure, which is easier said than done for sure, but there are valuable lessons in defeat that success will never teach you. This can also be referred to as a growth mindset. So accepting failures as they come, being humble about it, and making the necessary changes to improve on that. And that's courage. The second category of grit is conscientiousness, and this can be broken down into achievement-oriented versus dependable. And in different things that you take on, you'll fit into both of these categories at different times. Achievement-oriented individuals, they work tirelessly and they complete the task at hand. They go for the gold. Dependable individuals are self-controlled and conventional, so they show up for practice, but they'll show up every time. So it's important to have both of these types of people, but achievement-oriented people tend to be grittier because they want that gold. They're going to do whatever it takes to get there. So it's important to be both when you need to be, but fall more into the achievement-oriented when you can. So now we're going to move into number 3, which is long-term goals and follow-through. We've talked a lot about this in class with SMART goals, but it's always good to have a refresher. Pertaining to grit, your practice must have a purpose. You must be working towards something. And your long-term goals are the framework for the meaning of your purpose for your goals. And with this, it's important to remember to manage your fear of failure when you're working towards your goals so that you can get to places where you never would be without it. Another huge component to grit is resilience, which can be broken down into optimism, confidence, and creativity. Our ability to bounce back when things don't go as planned is resilience in a nutshell. And we have a little equation here that optimism plus confidence and creativity equals resilience, which is basically grit. And gritty people think like this: everything will be alright in the end, and if it's not alright, it's not the end. And I think that that's important for right now because of everything going on. No one planned for this, but we're making do with the best we can, and we're being grittier because of it. And so resilience is a huge benefit to have when you're talking about grit, and it's a practice for sure. It's not easy to just bounce back when things don't go as planned, but it is important to work on that and have that growth mindset that you need to get through it. Now we move into excellence versus perfection, and originally when I was studying grit, I thought that it was all about perfection, but really it's not about that at all. Perfection is binary. It's unforgiving and inflexible, and it's someone else's perception of an ideal. Excellence is what is more along the lines of grit. Excellence is an attitude, and it's far more forgiving. It lets you embrace failure and vulnerability, and it allows for disappointment, because when you're working towards these goals, to think that you wouldn't be disappointed at one time or another is unrealistic. So with grit, it's important to focus more on being excellent at something versus being perfect at something, because perfection is something different to everyone. Here's a quick TED Talk about grit. It is fantastic. I'll link it below in case you can't get to it through the slide. So in conclusion, grit is one of the most important life skills that someone can have. It is hard to measure, but it's easy to feel, and I think that that's true for everyone, because you know when you're working towards a goal and what that feels like, and you know when you're not being intentional with things in your life and what that feels like too. It is something that needs to be worked on for a lifetime. No one will ever perfect it, but we can try to be as good at it as we can, and we'll be better people for it in the end.